In 2013, we discovered a condition that we started to investigate, and that led to further disassembly of the locomotive. And the more we disassembled the locomotive, the more problems that we found. So pretty early on, we decided that we were going to take the locomotive down and complete what's known as a 1472-day inspection. And that's a 15-year cycle that steam locomotives go through. And that requires that the boiler's stripped down, the inside components known as tubes and flues are removed so you can do an analysis of the entire pressure vessel. We also discovered some problems in the firebox. They could have gone a few more years, but there again, we were going to reset the locomotive's calendar, if you will, and give it another 15-year term of service. The work scope that we did, we're looking for 2 15-year terms of service. So all the steam piping, air piping, the cab came off. If you saw the locomotive, it looks like the UP 4014 looks today, where it's simply a boiler resting on a frame and wheels. That's how far down we took it. Back in June, that's what it looked like. And we started putting it all together, doing tremendous welding. We replaced the inside portions of the firebox, what's known as the area behind the refractory. Because it burns oil, oil is a very intense fire. So you have a fire brick lining inside a portion of the firebox to protect the firebox plates from the intensity of the heat of that oil fire. While all of the area on the fire side was corroded. And again, it probably could have lasted several years, but again, we're looking long-term, preserving the equipment, making sure that it's around for future generations. So we have to make those tough calls and really get into it. And it did. It took us nearly 2.5 years from the time we got going on it until the time we were completed. And we ran it this July for our annual Frontier Day special. Well, if you look around in the crowd, you'll see young people, and they have an interest and a passion. And that's where it started for me and everybody on my crew. They had an interest and a passion and a desire to be around this unique equipment. It looks complicated, and there are aspects that are complicated, but the fundamentals of the operation and the machining aspects of it and the welding principles, those are all skills that people can learn. Anybody can learn it. Like anything, you devote yourself to it, you have a passion and an interest in it, and you're able to retain that information. It's almost like having a thirst for that information. Everyone on the crew is a wealth of knowledge about this because they like it. It's their passion. It's not just a job that you're kind of enduring until you retire. I mean, you actually enjoy this. I mean, there's smiles on their faces, and sitting up in the cab as the guests come up and talk questions and steam locomotive trivia, and it's our life. In terms of the operation of the locomotive, you have to be a locomotive engineer, and naturally experience counts. Counting all the years that you work around the railroad. The railroad's a very complex network. It's a lot like traveling in an aircraft. You've got the pilot up there, and he's got a lot of procedures that they go through when they're landing in a big terminal. Coming into Kansas City, big railroad megaplex. There's a lot of rules, and again, safety is paramount. And everything we do, we're talking about the safety aspects of it and how that impacts everything that we're doing. So it's just a matter of finding the right personalities, the right people, and the right skill sets, and building on that. Everyone on the crew is serving an apprenticeship. Several on the crew, many, had no steam experience whatsoever. Steam experience isn't necessarily required because you can learn it. If you have that right personality and that right fit and that passion, you can develop the skill set. But you have to have that real passion in your heart because it looks fun. Everybody says, wow, you've got the greatest job. How do you guys get these jobs? And they're wonderful jobs, and we're blessed that the railroad lets us do this. But it's not all fun and games. My favorite question is, how fast does it go? I mean, people are just fascinated with the speed of an object that size. And, some people, well, we don't run fast enough. Well, they were running slow today. But remembering that the primary mission of the program is that of public relations. So if we're running 70 miles an hour all the time, you zip by in a flash. So oftentimes we slow it down a little bit just so people can watch it. The other aspect is we usually have a caravan of people on the highway. So that's something that we try to be mindful of too. We don't want people rushing around, possibly causing some problems on the highway, trying to get ahead to get a picture of the steam locomotive. So we plan various stops along the route, and that kind of resets the whole operation for the public. They can come and they know that the locomotive is going to stop at this location at this time. So it's just a good way to interact with all the communities that the railroad travels through.